What happens when the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy receive a signal that shouldn't exist? A transmission so powerful it breaks their understanding of physics, so precise it threatens their sense of superiority, and so impossible that it can only mean one thing: someone out there has technology that makes theirs look like stone tools. The Galactic Council has ruled the stars for millennia, confident in their technological dominance. Their most sophisticated sensors can barely detect whispers across solar systems. Their greatest ships take months to cross between star clusters. Their finest scientists have declared faster-than-light communication a universal impossibility. Then, in a single moment, everything changes. A signal blazes across the galaxy, not in hours or days, but in mere seconds. It carries more data than their entire civilization has ever produced, encoded in ways that make their master cryptographers weep in frustration. It originates from a tiny, unremarkable world in a forgotten corner of space, a planet they've dismissed as harboring only primitive life. But the truly terrifying part isn't the signal's impossible nature. It's what follows 3 days later: a ship. Not crawling through space at sublight speeds like every vessel in known history, but tearing through the fabric of reality itself, arriving at their most secure fortress in less time than it takes their fastest courier to travel between neighboring moons. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity doesn't just think outside the box, they've been building a completely different box all along. And, now, they're coming to show everyone what real innovation looks like. High Admiral Zethkar had witnessed the birth and death of stars, commanded fleets that could glass entire worlds, and negotiated treaties that shaped the destiny of countless species. In his 800 years of service to the Galactic Council, he believed he had seen everything the universe could offer. He was wrong. The first indication that this day would shatter everything he thought he knew came from his communications officer, a young Velthari whose crystalline features flickered with confusion and growing alarm. "High Admiral," she said, her melodic voice wavering, "we're receiving a transmission." Zethkar barely looked up from his tactical display showing the routine patrol formations around Nexus Prime, the Council's most heavily fortified stronghold. "Routed through standard channels, Officer Kesani." "Sir, you don't understand. This transmission, it shouldn't be possible." The certainty in her voice made Zethkar pause. Kesani had graduated top of her class from the Council's most prestigious communications academy. She had served aboard exploration vessels that pushed the very boundaries of known space. If she said something was impossible, it deserved attention. "Explain," Zethkar commanded, his four eyes focusing entirely on the young officer. Kesani's fingers danced across her control interface, her movements quick and nervous. "The signal is originating from grid sector 7749 Delta, specifically from the third planet of the system humans call Sol. Our databases classify it as a primitive world inhabited by a species that has barely achieved basic space travel." Zethkar nodded. He remembered the reports. Humans were an oddity among galactic species, notable primarily for their unusual aggression and stubborn refusal to follow established technological development patterns. Most species developed in predictable ways: first basic tools, then energy manipulation, followed by space travel, and, finally, after centuries of careful advancement, perhaps achieving limited interplanetary communication. Humans, however, had somehow jumped straight from primitive combustion engines to crude rocket technology in less than a century. Fascinating from an anthropological standpoint, but hardly a threat to galactic civilization. "What's unusual about the transmission?" he asked. Kesani's crystalline features shifted to a deeper shade of blue, indicating extreme distress. "Sir, the signal reached us 17 minutes ago. From their location, even at the theoretical maximum speed of light, any transmission should take over 26,000 years to reach Nexus Prime." The tactical displays around Zethkar suddenly seemed less important. He stood slowly, his massive frame casting long shadows across the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Dominance. "You're certain of the origin point?" "Verified through 6 different sensor arrays, sir. The signal definitely originated from the human homeworld." "But that's not the most disturbing part." Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine, a sensation he hadn't experienced since his first combat engagement 3 centuries ago. "Continue." "The transmission isn't just faster than light, sir. Our preliminary analysis suggests it somehow arrived 17 minutes before it was actually sent. The quantum signature indicates the signal was broadcast yesterday, local time on their world, but our sensors detected was received in our time stream before their transmission equipment was even powered up. The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned to stare at the communications station. Faster-than-light travel was considered theoretically impossible by the galaxy's most brilliant physicists. Faster-than-light communication was deemed a fantasy even in the wildest scientific speculation. But transmission that arrived before it was sent? That violated not just physics, but the very concept of causality itself. What does the message contain? Zethkar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Kasani hesitated. We haven't been able to decode it, sir. The encryption is unlike anything in our databases. It appears to be layered in ways our cryptographic systems can't even recognize, let alone penetrate. However, we have identified what appears to be a basic mathematical sequence at the beginning, possibly intended as a universal greeting. Show me. The main display flickered to life, showing a complex waveform that pulsed with rhythmic precision. Even to Zethkar's untrained eye, there was something elegant about the pattern, something that suggested intelligence far more sophisticated than anything the Council had encountered before. Sir, called out Commander Jacksoth from the sensor station, his reptilian features twisted in concentration, we're detecting multiple similar transmissions across the galaxy. The signals are reaching Council worlds, independent systems, even the forbidden zones in the galactic core. Every major civilization is receiving identical transmissions simultaneously. Zethkar's blood ran cold. A species capable of instantaneous galactic communication could coordinate attacks, share intelligence, and control information in ways that would make the Galactic Council's vast bureaucratic network look like children playing with tin cans and string. Get me the Council chambers, he ordered. Priority Alpha clearance. The transmission connected immediately, displaying the holographic forms of the 12 species that governed galactic civilization. High Counselor Merthak, a being so ancient that his exact age had become classified information, spoke first. High Admiral Zethkar, we are aware of the situation. Every Council world has received identical transmissions. Our greatest scientific minds are baffled. How is your fleet responding? With extreme caution, High Counselor. We have no frame of reference for technology this advanced. If these humans have developed faster-than-light communication, we must assume they possess other capabilities that exceed our understanding. Counselor Velaner, whose crystalline body refracted light in complex patterns indicating deep thought, interjected, our intelligence reports suggest humans are still using primitive chemical rockets for space travel. How do you reconcile that with this demonstration of impossible technology? I can't, Counselor. Which is exactly what worries me. High Counselor Merthak's image flickered as he consulted data streams from across the galaxy. Our xenobiologists are analyzing human cultural patterns. The species appears to have an unusual tendency toward what they call thinking outside the box. They consistently develop solutions that ignore established principles. Are we considering them a threat? Asked Counselor Drexstar, whose species had conquered 17 star systems before joining the Council through diplomatic annexation. The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. The Galactic Council had maintained peace for thousands of years through superior technology and coordinated response to any potential threats. But, how do you respond to a threat that operates by completely unknown rules? Unknown, Merthak replied finally. We have no precedent for this situation. A species demonstrating impossible technology while apparently remaining at a primitive development stage. Suddenly, Kesani's voice cut through the discussion. High Admiral. The transmission is changing. Every eye on the bridge focused on the communications display. The elegant mathematical patterns were shifting, becoming more complex, more purposeful. The signal strength was increasing exponentially, and new elements were appearing in the data stream. Sir, Kesani said, her voice tight with concentration, I think it's trying to establish a communication protocol. The patterns are becoming more sophisticated, like it's teaching us how to decode the message. Can you interpret any of it? Fragments, sir. There are elements that might be star charts, others that could be technological specifications. But there's something else, something that looks like. She paused, her features shifting to an even deeper shade of blue. Sir, I think part of this message is a countdown. Zethkar felt the universe shift around him. A countdown to what? I don't know, sir. But, based on the mathematical progression, whatever it's counting down to will happen in approximately 72 hours. The High Admiral looked at the holographic forms of the council members, seeing his own fear reflected in their alien features. A species that could send messages backward through time had just delivered what might be an ultimatum to the entire galaxy. And they had less than 3 days to figure out what humanity wanted, what they were capable of, and, most importantly, whether the galaxy's established order would survive the encounter. As if summoned by his thoughts, Commander Jacksoth called out from his station, "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from the Sol system. Something is happening in human space. Something big." Zethkar closed his eyes and tried to remember the last time he had prayed to whatever deities might govern the vast darkness between stars. After 800 years of believing the Council represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization, he was about to learn just how small their universe really was. The impossible signal continued its hypnotic pulse, carrying secrets that could reshape reality itself. And, somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity was preparing to show the galaxy exactly what impossible really meant. 71 hours after the impossible signal first reached the galaxy, High Admiral Zethkar stood in the Council's most secure briefing chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing every piece of intelligence they had gathered about humanity. The picture they painted defied every assumption about technological development that galactic civilization had held for millennia. Dr. Salandra, the Council's leading Xena specialist, materialized as a shimmering blue hologram beside the main display. Her multiple tentacles moved in complex patterns as she organized data streams from across known space. "High Admiral, our analysis of human development patterns is disturbing." "How so, Doctor?" "They don't follow any established technological progression. Most species develop tools, then weapons, then space travel, then advanced communication. Humans appear to have developed all of these simultaneously, often using the same innovations for completely different purposes." Zethkar studied the data cascading across the displays. Images of human cities showed primitive transportation systems alongside structures that seemed to defy architectural physics. Their information networks appeared crude by galactic standards, yet somehow they had achieved instantaneous communication across impossible distances. "Show me their military capabilities," he requested. Dr. Salandra's tentacles twitched nervously. "That's where our analysis becomes truly concerning. Human military technology appears intentionally primitive on the surface. Their weapons use chemical explosives and basic projectiles. Their vehicles rely on combustion engines. But, embedded within these simple systems are components that our best engineers cannot explain." A new display activated, showing grainy surveillance footage of human military exercises. Zethkar watched soldiers using equipment that looked barely functional, yet somehow achieving results that should have required technology centuries more advanced. "This footage was taken 3 months ago by a Council reconnaissance probe," Dr. Salandra explained. "Watch the artillery demonstration." Zethkar observed human soldiers operating what appeared to be a basic projectile cannon. The weapon looked crude, almost barbaric compared to Council energy weapons. But, when it fired, the projectile didn't follow a normal ballistic trajectory. Instead, it seemed to fold space around itself, arriving at its target instantaneously despite traveling several kilometers. "Impossible," Zethkar muttered. "That's what we thought. But, we've documented 17 similar incidents. Humans consistently achieve impossible results using apparently primitive technology. Our scientists believe they've developed a completely different approach to manipulating fundamental forces." The briefing chamber's main doors hissed open, admitting High Counselor Merthak himself. The ancient being moved slowly but with purpose, his features showing the strain of the past 3 days. Behind him came the other 11 council members, their diverse alien forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes around the chamber. "High Admiral," Merthak said without preamble, "we have new information. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected something approaching the Nexus Prime system. Zethkar felt his heart skip a beat. Approaching how? Nothing can reach Nexus Prime without passing through at least 6 security checkpoints and traveling for weeks through heavily monitored space. That's the problem, replied Counselor Velaner, her crystalline form flickering with agitation. Whatever is approaching isn't traveling through normal space. Our sensors detect massive gravitational distortions, as if something is literally tearing holes in the fabric of reality. Commander Jaxotha's voice crackled through the chamber's communication system from the bridge of the Eternal Dominance. High Admiral, long-range sensors confirm an object approaching at impossible velocity. Current trajectory suggests arrival at Nexus Prime in approximately 18 hours. What kind of object? Zethkar demanded. Unknown configuration, sir. It appears to be artificial, roughly 1,200 meters in length. But its energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. And, sir, it's definitely of human origin. The council members exchanged glances that ranged from nervous to terrified. Humanity had gone from sending impossible signals to dispatching vessels that could cross interstellar distances in days rather than decades. Dr. Salandra's image flickered as she processed new data streams. High Admiral, I'm receiving updated intelligence from our observation posts in human space. The Sol system is showing unprecedented activity. Explain. Energy signatures suggest massive construction projects throughout their solar system. But the scale doesn't match their apparent industrial capacity. They're building something that should require the resources of hundreds of worlds, yet they're accomplishing it using only their home system. Counselor Drextar, whose species had extensive experience with military logistics, interjected, impossible. No single system has the raw materials for large-scale construction projects. Even the Council's greatest shipyards draw resources from dozens of worlds. Unless, Dr. Salandra said slowly, they've developed manufacturing techniques that operate on principles we don't understand. Our analysis suggests they might be manipulating matter at a quantum level, essentially creating materials and components from base elements in ways that bypass traditional industrial requirements. High Counselor Merthak activated a secure holographic display showing the galaxy's current political and military situation. Red warning indicators flashed across hundreds of worlds as various species prepared for unknown threats. The situation is becoming unstable, Merthak announced. 17 independent systems have activated military protocols. The hegemony of Krex has mobilized its entire battle fleet. Even the normally peaceful Botanical Collective has begun manufacturing weapons. All because of one human ship? Zethkar asked. All because of what that ship represents, Merthak corrected. If humans have developed technology that makes ours obsolete, every established power structure in the galaxy becomes meaningless overnight. Suddenly, klaxons began wailing throughout the briefing chamber. Emergency lights bathed the room in pulsing red illumination as automated systems announced an incoming priority message. Commander Jaxotha's voice filled the chamber, tight with barely controlled panic. High Admiral. The approaching object has just accelerated beyond anything we thought possible. Revised arrival time, 3 hours. 3 hours? Zethkar roared. That's impossible. Sir, our sensors indicate the object is no longer traveling through normal spacetime. It appears to be moving through. I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's taking shortcuts through dimensions that shouldn't exist. Dr. Salandra's hologram flickered frantically as she processed real-time sensor data. High Admiral, the energy readings are off every scale we have. Whatever this vessel is using for propulsion, it's manipulating forces that we've never encountered before. Counselor Velaner stepped forward, her crystalline features refracting light in patterns indicating extreme stress. High Admiral, we need to make a decision. Do we treat this as a first contact situation or a military threat? Before Zethkar could respond, new alerts flooded the chamber's communication systems. Reports poured in from across the galaxy as the impossible human signal began changing again. The countdown that had been steadily decreasing suddenly jumped to display new information. Sir! Kesani's voice came through the communication link from the Eternal Dominance. The human transmission is evolving. I'm detecting what appears to be linguistic patterns. I think they're trying to communicate directly. Can you decode any of it? Fragments, sir. There are word-like structures that seem to be introducing concepts. But there's something else. The signal now includes what appears to be technical specifications for some kind of communication protocol. They're not just sending us a message, they're teaching us how to talk to them. High Counselor Merthak moved to the center of the chamber, his ancient features grave. High Admiral, I'm authorizing full defensive protocols for Nexus Prime. Whatever humanity wants, we cannot appear weak. Sir, Commander Jacksoth interrupted, the approaching vessel has just dropped out of whatever exotic propulsion system it was using. It's now maintaining a standard orbital position approximately 1 million kilometers from Nexus Prime. It's just sitting there. Dr. Salandra's tentacles moved in complex patterns as she analyzed the new sensor data. High Admiral, the vessel is broadcasting the same mathematical sequences as the original impossible signal. But now it's also transmitting what appears to be peaceful intentions. How can you determine intentions from mathematics? Sethkar asked. The patterns include representations of known peaceful symbols from dozens of galactic cultures. Somehow, they've researched our various species' concepts of non-aggression and incorporated them into their message. Sethkar stared at the tactical display showing the human vessel maintaining its distant orbit. For a species demonstrating impossible technology, they were being remarkably patient and non-threatening. But that only made the situation more unnerving. Beings capable of rewriting the laws of physics didn't need to posture or threaten. Their very existence was statement enough. Open a communication channel, Sethkar ordered. All frequencies, maximum power. Let's see if they're willing to explain what they want. The transmission array activated, sending Council greeting protocols toward the mysterious human vessel. The response came back in less than a second, faster than the laws of physics should have allowed. And, for the first time in galactic history, humanity spoke directly to the stars. The voice that emerged from the communication system was distinctly human, warm, curious, and carrying just a hint of amusement. Greetings, Galactic Council. We apologize for the dramatic arrival, but we figured you might want to see what we've been working on. We have a proposition that might interest you. The human voice that filled the council chambers was unlike anything High Admiral Sethkar had expected. Instead of the commanding tone of a conqueror or the desperate plea of a supplicant, it carried the casual confidence of someone discussing weekend plans with old friends. My name is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Probability Storm. I realize our arrival might seem a bit sudden, but we've been monitoring your communications for the past few months, and we thought it was time we had a proper conversation. High Counselor Merthak stepped forward, his ancient features struggling to process the implications of the human's words. Captain Chen, the technology you've demonstrated violates fundamental laws of physics. How is this possible? A sound that could only be described as laughter echoed through the chamber. Fundamental laws? With respect, Counselor, I think you might be limiting yourselves. What you call fundamental laws, we've learned to treat more like guidelines. Suggestions from the universe that can be politely ignored under the right circumstances. Dr. Salandra materialized her hologram beside the main communication array, her tentacles twitching with excitement and terror. Captain, our analysis suggests your vessel traveled from your home system to our location in less than 20 hours. The distance should require decades, even at theoretical maximum velocity. Decades? Captain Chen's voice carried genuine surprise. That seems terribly inefficient. Why would you travel through space when you can convince space to move around you? It's much faster and uses less energy. Counselor Velaner's crystalline form flickered rapidly. Convince space to move? That's impossible. Not impossible, came the patient reply. Just complicated. See, the universe is a lot more flexible than most species realize. You've been trying to push against physical laws instead of finding their loopholes. Every rule has exceptions if you know how to ask nicely. Zethkar activated the tactical display, showing the human vessel maintaining its distant orbit. Despite its exotic arrival, the ship appeared remarkably ordinary. No visible weapons, no threatening configurations, just a sleek design that somehow managed to look both advanced and approachable. "Captain Chen," Zethkar said carefully, "what do you want from us?" "Want from you? Admiral, I think you've got this backwards. We're here to offer you something. You see, we've been watching the galaxy for a while now, and we've noticed you have a few problems that we might be able to help solve." The council members exchanged glances ranging from confusion to suspicion. High Counselor Merthak spoke first. "What kind of problems?" "Well, for starters, your communication network is painfully slow. Messages taking months to travel between systems? That must make governing a galactic civilization incredibly difficult. Then, there's your transportation system. Ships crawling between stars at sublight speeds when you could be zipping around the galaxy in hours instead of years." Commander Jaxotha's voice crackled through the communication system from the bridge of the Eternal Dominance. "High Admiral, the human vessel is transmitting additional data. Technical specifications, star charts, and what appears to be instruction manuals." Captain Chen's voice carried a note of enthusiasm. "We thought we'd share a few basic improvements. Nothing too advanced, just some simple modifications to your existing technology that should increase efficiency by a few thousand%. Dr. Salandra's image flickered as she processed the incoming data streams. "High Admiral, these specifications, they're showing us how to modify our existing ships for faster-than-light travel. But, the modifications seem almost absurdly simple." "Simple?" Zethkar questioned. "According to these plans, we just need to adjust the harmonic frequency of our engine cores and install what they call reality anchors at specific points on the hull. The theory suggests this would allow our ships to slip between dimensions rather than pushing through normal space." Captain Chen's voice carried obvious pleasure. "Exactly. You've been trying to brute force your way through the universe instead of working with it. The probability storm isn't actually fast, Admiral. It just takes the scenic route through alternate realities where the distance between stars is much shorter." Counselor Drextar activated his personal communication system. "Captain, these modifications you're proposing would revolutionize galactic civilization. Why are you sharing this technology freely?" "Because it's not really advanced technology," Captain Chen replied matter-of-factly. "These are basic principles that any spacefaring civilization should figure out within a few centuries of achieving interstellar travel. We're honestly a bit puzzled that you haven't discovered them yet." The briefing chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't demonstrating vastly superior technology. They were showing the galaxy that they had been thinking about fundamental problems in completely different ways. "Captain," High Counselor Merthak said slowly, "if these principles are as basic as you suggest, why did it take humanity so little time to develop them? Our records show your species only achieved space travel recently." Another laugh echoed through the chamber. "Oh, that. Well, we've always had a tendency to approach problems from unusual angles. When we discovered space travel was difficult and expensive, we started looking for ways to cheat. Turns out the universe is full of shortcuts if you're willing to think creatively." Zethkar studied the technical specifications flowing across his displays. The modifications were indeed surprisingly simple, but they operated on principles that challenged everything galactic science had accepted as truth. "Captain, these reality anchors you mention. How did you discover this technology?" "Discovery is a strong word, Admiral. It was more like stumbling across something obvious that everyone else had overlooked. One of our scientists was trying to solve the problem of long-distance space travel and realized that the universe isn't actually as solid as it appears. With the right equipment, you can basically ask reality to let you take shortcuts." Dr. Salandra's tentacles moved in patterns indicating extreme excitement. "High Admiral, I'm analyzing the communication method they're using to talk to us. It's not faster than light transmission. They're somehow synchronizing quantum states across impossible distances, creating instantaneous communication channels." That sounds complicated, Sethkar said. Actually, Captain Chen interjected, it's embarrassingly simple once you understand that quantum entanglement doesn't really care about distance. We just figured out how to entangle communication arrays with specific locations instead of specific particles. Want us to show you how to build one? The chamber erupted in excited chatter as the council members processed the implications. Instant communication across galactic distances would transform everything from governance to commerce to military coordination. High Counselor Merthak raised a hand for silence. Captain Chen, you're offering to share technology that would fundamentally alter galactic civilization. What do you want in exchange? Exchange? Captain Chen sounded genuinely puzzled. We don't want anything in exchange. We're sharing this because that's what you do when you meet new neighbors. You help them out if you can. Counselor Velaner stepped forward. But surely you want something. Trade agreements, territorial concessions, technological exchanges? Counselor, we've got one small solar system with about 8 billion humans. You've got thousands of worlds with trillions of beings from dozens of species. What could we possibly want from you that would be worth keeping this technology secret? Sethkar felt something shift in his understanding of the situation. Humanity hadn't come to conquer or demand tribute. They had simply noticed that their galactic neighbors were struggling with problems they had already solved, and decided to help. Captain, he said carefully, are you suggesting that humanity wishes to share all of this technology simply out of altruism? Altruism, practicality, whatever you want to call it. Look, Admiral, we're probably going to be neighbors for a long time. We'd rather have neighbors who can travel efficiently, communicate instantly, and solve problems creatively. Makes the whole galaxy a more interesting place to live. Commander Jaxotha's voice crackled through the communication system. Hi Admiral, sensors indicate multiple human vessels are approaching from various directions. All maintaining peaceful configurations, but, sir, there are dozens of them. Captain Chen's voice carried amusement. Ah, the rest of the fleet is arriving. Don't worry, Admiral. They're just here to help with the technology transfer. We figured you'd want to start implementing these improvements as quickly as possible. Dr. Salandra's image flickered frantically. Hi Admiral, the approaching vessels are all broadcasting technical data. Engineering specifications, training programs, cultural exchange protocols. They're providing everything needed to integrate this technology into existing galactic infrastructure. High Counselor Merthak stood in the center of the chamber, his ancient features showing wonder for the first time in centuries. Captain Chen, you're offering to revolutionize our entire civilization. How do we know this isn't some elaborate trap? Counselor, Captain Chen replied gently, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we wouldn't need to trick you into accepting better technology. We'd just show up and take what we wanted. But that's not who we are. We're explorers, problem solvers, and, apparently, very enthusiastic neighbors. Sethkar looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had governed the galaxy for millennia, now struggling to comprehend a species that had casually solved their greatest technological challenges and was offering to share the solutions freely. Captain, he said finally, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we accept your offer of technological cooperation. But, I have one question, what do you plan to do now? Now? Well, we were hoping you might be interested in showing us around. We've analyzed your cultural databases, and you've got some fascinating civilizations out there. We'd love to meet everyone, share ideas, maybe learn a few things ourselves. The galaxy's a big place, Admiral. Seems like a shame to explore it alone. As Captain Chen's words echoed through the chamber, Sethkar realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. Not through conquest or threat, but through the simple human tendency to solve problems, share solutions, and make friends with the neighbors. Humanity hadn't sent warships to impose their will. They had sent teachers, offering to show the galaxy how to think outside the box. And, for a species that had apparently been building a completely different box all along, the lessons they offered would reshape the very foundations of galactic civilization. The impossible signal had been just the beginning. Now the real adventure could start.